As a servant to the people of Queensland and Australia, I want to argue the case for freedom and also the fact that we are opposed to pollution, real pollution, because Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party is fundamentally in favour of protecting the environment. However, we believe that the best people to protect the environment are the people who are managing the environment: farmers, industrialists, employees. We are against real pollution, and that's what this bill seeks to address. Real pollutants like carbon monoxide, not carbon dioxide. Real pollutants like particulates. Real pollutants like sulphur dioxide and nitrous oxides. These are the things that affect people's quality of life, respiration. These are the things that blanketed out the sky, the stars, from London for 600 years, until the advent of modern coal-fired power stations. Carbon dioxide is not a pollutant, as Senator Rice alluded to earlier on. Carbon dioxide is fundamentally not on the list of pollutants anywhere on this planet, because carbon dioxide is essential to all life on this planet. Carbon dioxide is nature's essential trace gas that is essential for all life on this planet. It is essential for everything green on this planet as a part of the process of photosynthesis that gives us our food and gives us our forests and our grass, our seaweed. What I want to talk about is real pollutants and how we need to reduce them. I also want to talk about the reality that what the Greens are fomenting, what the Greens are advocating, is an increase in real pollutants: carbon monoxide, sulphur dioxide, nitrous oxides and particulates. Because what the Greens are saying is that we need to cut the production of carbon dioxide, essential for all of nature's life on this planet. And when we do that, they want to do that by increasing taxes. And when that happens, we see an increase in costs in this country and the production of electricity increasing overseas at the sake of our jobs. That is what is happening. It is reality. That is what is happening. We are shutting down industry here, losing our aluminium smelters, losing our car plants. We won't be making aluminium soon. We won't be making cars at the end of this year. And that is now being transferred overseas, creating jobs in Asia, jobs in Africa, jobs in North America, thanks to Donald Trump. And we see them shutting down here. And that is increasing our costs of living, decreasing our standard of living, decreasing our quality of life. Senator Rice, Mr. Acting Deputy President, advocates the use of bikes and walking. Well, try telling that to people who live in Burke or Boulia or Birdsville or even Brisbane or even Barden. That is not real. That is just a pipe dream. But I want to go on to something else. She talks about coal. Well, let's talk about coal, because coal is used to make steel, and everything around us except the flesh in our bodies depends upon steel. The clothes made from cotton, made from wool, harvested, sewn in fact, harvested with steel-based implements. And what's the key ingredient to steel? C-O-A-L, coal. Coal is responsible for our food. It is responsible for our clothing. It's responsible for our shelter, our homes. It's responsible for our industry, because steel is a part of all of those industries. Steel is fundamental to transport, fundamental to cars, buses, trucks, push bikes, fundamental to the leather thongs and sandals that the Greens want to wear. Coal is fundamental to steel, and that is fundamental to every aspect of our transport. So what we are seeing is that the Greens are trying to destroy this debate by bringing in carbon dioxide, when in fact, to be clear, the emissions of concern in this package are actual pollutants: carbon monoxide, sulphur dioxide, particulates, and nitrous oxides. Carbon dioxide is not a framework, not a part of this framework, but the Greens keep talking about it. And that is why, that illustrates why carbon dioxide has been demonised and is now in the minds of most school kids as being a pollutant when it is not. It is not listed anywhere in the world as a pollutant. And then the Greens talk about clean power. What is clean power? They never define what clean power is. But they say that the way to generate clean power is in windmills and solar farms. Windmills rely upon steel. Windmills rely upon electricity to be made. And where does that electricity come from in China? It comes from coal, Australian coal in places. And what we see is the subsidies for windmills and solar farms in this country driving industry in other countries. We are subsidising the industrialisation of China, and they're going hell for leather on coal-fired power stations. This Green's insanity is just that. And I want to talk about the way humans have reduced real pollutants. I want to illustrate, for example, Honda Motor Company. Honda Motor Company's founder was Soichiro Honda, and he visited Lake Tahoe in the 1970s. And he saw on the water of that beautiful lake, he saw something that looked like oil. And he asked his salespeople what that was on the pristine waters of Lake Tahoe. And they said that was oil from two-stroke motors. And he made a vow then and then to never build a two-stroke outboard motor, even though it was lighter and used less fuel. Instead, he worked savagely on reducing the weight, the cost, the complexity of four-stroke outboard motors because they are inherently less polluting. And he worked on improving their efficiency and reducing their cost. And as a result, Honda Motor Company makes no two-stroke outboard motors. Honda Motor Company in the 1970s brought in pollution levels that were lower than the mandated requirements all through the 70s, all through the 80s. Why? Because Honda Motor Company realised that when they studied the combustion of fuel in a cylinder chamber, then they worked out that by being more efficient, that would produce less pollution, increase power, and increase fuel efficiency. So the way to regulate, the way to improve the efficiency and the pollution of engines is to have a standard, but then let companies get at it. And that's what we're seeing here. So we commend the government for addressing real pollution, carbon monoxide, sulphur dioxide, nitrous oxides, and we condemn the Greens for trying yet again to tell a lie to the Australian people that carbon dioxide needs to be cut when it doesn't. We see all around us a dependency on coal. We see the Greens talking about the lights that are powered by coal, but not the cotton, not the timber, not the clothes, not the electricity, not the speakers, not the steel. Nothing else in this room that is powered by, but that is generated by steel, which depends upon coal. Why is it that the Greens will let go of half of the coal production in this country and let it go overseas? Because they're not game to tackle the fact that steel is in everything. The Greens campaign is a lie. The Greens campaign is distorting reality. The Greens campaign fundamentally contradicts the empirical evidence. We've had no warming for 22 years. We've had the largest temperature trend in the last 160 years was 40 years of cooling from the 1930s to 1976. Temperatures were warmer in Australia in the 1890s than today. Warmer. So carbon dioxide from human activity is not affecting the temperature. What's more, we know that carbon dioxide from human activity is not even affecting the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. 2009, we had a recession, and carbon dioxide production from humans decreased. And yet the level in the atmosphere increased because the oceans control that, because the oceans contain 50 times more carbon dioxide in dissolved form than is in the entire atmosphere. Lastly, I want to point out to the Greens that every warmer period in the past has been called a climate optimum because it has been highly beneficial to humans and to natural environment, to all plant and animal species. If we could increase the temperature, we would. but we can't control it. If we could increase the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, we would, but we can't control it. So what we want to do is make a very clear distinction between carbon dioxide and the real pollutants. And we note, contrary to what the Greens imply, that this bill does not refer in any way to carbon dioxide production. It refers only to real pollutants, sulphur dioxide, nitrous oxides and particulates. And that is why Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party is in favour of progress. That's why we support coal. That's why we support steel. That's why we support freedom of choice. And Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party is in favour of cutting pollution, and that's why we support this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.